Threshold is very tough. It's a very tough thing, no matter who it is. I said there's only one person that can do it all the way. You know who that is? Jesus Christ.
Now, Donald Trump did what many said was impossible. He won, proving once again that his connection to the American people is unmatched. Now, remember, his victory wasn't just about policy. It was actually about the principles and values that so many Americans hold dear. Now, let's discuss why Kamala Harris just struggled as a candidate, and let's just look at some of these clips because, well, let's let the mainstream media show for itself.
Tell me why this is okay with you.
Well, genuine thank you to Biden and Harris for doing what they should do, right?
That he didn't do, Trump.
Yes, and Biden is, by the way, I'm not sure he knows he's in the room with Hitler, but he gets half credit for doing this peacefully, right? But I think there's another thing here. We had a contest in democracy by listening to the voters about what they cared about most. And I think one of the issues with voters was that making January 6th, 9/11, making that day into everything, did not win that fight. It didn't win the fight about what they cared about most. There were other things in their personal lives.
That's not what I'm asking. What I'm asking is, you know that if Trump had lost this election, right now, we would be talking about the votes that are still coming in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, and he'd be in the courts, and we would just be all in a tizzy. One side accepts election losses and one side doesn't. This asymmetry cannot continue. And the people who are defending it cannot just look past it like, well, we won the election, so that's it.
Remember, President Trump, knows how to win. Love him or hate him, you can't deny that the man knows how to connect with voters. Trump spoke directly to the heart of America. He talked about jobs, border security, energy independence, and stood up to the foreign powers. And over the past few years, well, let's face it, many Americans have felt left behind. Rising inflation, higher gas prices, and a sense of that the government just out of touch with everyday struggles just created the perfect storm for Trump's message to resonate. He reminded people of what they had lost, and he promised to bring it all back, bring back the good times.
For me, that's the rule.
Always miss their audits?
Yes, there's.
How many times did they miss their audits? The Pentagon.
Yeah, the Pentagon.
How many times? I think it's crazy numbers too. Like whoopsies.
Oops. I just forgot about that $300 billion.
Article in 2021 says they've never passed an audit.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. So it's rules. It's rules for thee, not for me. They've never passed an audit.
There's never.
Yeah.
Come on, never.
Never.
The Pentagon's accounting records are so convoluted that billions of dollars cannot be accounted for, charges a new government report. Oh, my God. That is so crazy. Never?
Yeah. And you'll go to jail if you don't pay these. You'll go to jail if you're not paying your taxes. You haven't survived an audit. And
funny. It's so funny.
Bernie Sanders had no problem going on Joe Rogan years ago when Joe Rogan endorsed him. I've been on Rogan's show 3 times. I've probably heard over 100 hours of it in the past decade. A decade ago, Joe Rogan was a Bernie Sanders supporter who would get emotional talking about how important it is to legalize marijuana, who would get emotional talking about how important it is to get Christianity out of politics, in particular on the abortion issue, who had a host of left-wing opinions, including about healthcare, and liberals drove him away by calling him a racist, unearthing jokes he made, calling him a misogynist, really with no evidence.
When you make racist
calling him
jokes
a transphobe,
about people of color,
calling him a
people
lot of
calling you
comedians
racist is likely going to happen.
all the time. Calling him transphobic because he didn't like
he
seeing
also didn't
Fallon
love the
Fox
vaccine thing, right?
beating up.
To our point earlier.
That also used to be a left-wing opinion, to be against vaccines like 20 years ago. Again, so he actually hasn't shapeshifted very much, to your point. The Democratic Party has shapeshifted and driven him away and alienated his followers.
I think what he ended up seeing was an American political sphere that shifted, and he found ways. He's a lot smarter than people give him credit for. He found ways to walk into where those people were. Yes, he was a proud, ultra-leftist, and then he became a proud person on the right, largely because he saw shifting towards the right, and that's where his money and his audience could come from. He shifted because more of his listeners shifted, and that's where he drove it to. That's nothing more than consumerism at work.
Which of his beliefs changed in the past 10 years? It's really hard to point out which of his beliefs.
But can I zoom out from him? Because I think there is this, and I see you nodding as well, this kind of bigger question.
lower taxes, make a stronger economy, in the American First agenda. For voters, the choice was clear. They wanted a fighter who puts their interest first. We're not talking about putting the interests of DEI or immigration, illegal immigrants, or any sort of LGBTQ community. No, he wants the everyday Americans to feel safe and to provide for them and to help them out. And he's putting their priorities first. Let's talk about Kamala Harris. Her campaign was just doomed from the start. Sure, mainstream media, legacy media, all these MSNBC, CNN hosts can say whatever they want, but it is in fact, there's no sugarcoating it. Sure, she made history as the first female vice president, but it doesn't automatically qualify her to become the president of the United States. It doesn't automatically translate into effective leadership. People just didn't feel like she understood their problems, and when you think about it, she connected with practically the people that were just desperate. It was the anybody but Trump voters, and that's it. I mean, is the mainstream media forgetting that Kamala Harris has a track record that didn't really help her either way? She was the California Attorney General, but she faced backlash for her decisions on criminal justice. Being tough on some issues while ignoring others. As the Vice President of the United States, America, she seemed pretty absent during critical moments. Where was she during the Ukraine-Russia war? And where was she during Israel-Palestine? Where was she during the border crisis, which is still happening, by the way? I mean, she's nowhere to be found. Literally, where is Kamala Harris right now?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. We must together work together to see where we are headed, where we are going, and our vision for where we should be. Because we have the ability to see what can be, unburdened by what has been, and then to make the possible actually happen. To see what is possible, to see what can be, unburdened by what has been, to reject the notion that the way things have always been has to be the way things will continue to be. I have a motto. I eat and drink no for breakfast. I eat no for breakfast. I eat no for breakfast. There is no vaccine for racism. The climate crisis represents an existential threat to who we are as a species. Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time. Because the reality is that the life of a black person in America has never been treated as fully human.
We know that if President Trump was in office, if he won 2020, which we know he did, then of course, him and of course probably Mike Pence would have stood their ground, kept America safe, put America first, and kept peace throughout the world. That's just what President Trump has always done. Now, Kamala Harris, her public appearances often felt forced. Without a doubt, that's the fact. She came across as rehearsed rather than genuine. You just take a look at some of these interviews.
We have supposed leaders who are pushing science fiction instead of science fact. This virus, it has no eyes, and yet it knows exactly how we see each other and how we treat each other. You guys are going to see. You're going to literally see the craters on the moon with your own eyes. Oh my goodness. With your own eyes, I'm telling you.
So apparently, the people who voted for the I will protect women whether they like it or not, childless women should have no rights, Puerto Rico is trash island, and Haitians will eat your pets gang are the real victims, despite their guy winning the election. In fact, they are now the modern-day equivalent of Rosa Parks, we're told by a white comedian. Civil rights heroes, the lot of them. And the rest of us, among the 73 million Americans who voted not to have fascism, autocracy, mass deportation, internment camps, and economy-crushing tariffs, are the bad guys, the segregationists of our time. If we, hold on, let me check my notes. Yes, don't want to have turkey dinner with the people screaming, your body, my choice. Okay. So there is this strong dual energy among MAGA people and their apologists, and it actually fits quite neatly with the history of America. It's equal parts bully energy, where they want to relentlessly troll liberals and lash out at minorities, and victim energy, where those same liberals are supposed to take the trolling quietly and also pity the trolls. It's the eternal victimhood of the conservative. We need to constantly coddle, study, and understand them. No one, not the media, the big thinkers, definitely not the comedians, are required to try to understand liberals and progressives. No. We must seek to understand those on the right, what they really meant by their votes, what they want, what they need. We are the constant handmaidens and wet nurses who are required to baby them, understand them, and serve them dinner.
This hurt her ability to rally enthusiasm. In contrast, Trump's rallies were actually electric. We could feel the energy in the room, and everybody can. The connection he had with the supporters, Kamala Harris just can never, ever replicate that. Not even Joe Biden. Come on. I mean, it's a fact. Now, we can't ignore the role of the media in all of this. For years, mainstream media, legacy media has been hypercritical of Trump. Quoting him as the new Hitler, calling him a fascist is just total outrageous stuff. They've always painted him as a divisive, dangerous, and out-of-touch person. But if you take a look at it, most of the Democratic donors for Kamala Harris are actually billionaires and millionaires, compared to the Republican Party, where the most majority of donors are people, everyday Americans like you and I. Now, let's just face it, the people of America, the real people, the blue-collar workers, the common workers of America, they're tired of bias reporting. They're tired of the political agenda being pushed, shoved down our throats.
As the DOJ said, there's nothing there.
No, they didn't. They said they didn't have enough to indict. That shouldn't be the standard.
No, it's a charge, dear.
Okay.
No,
dear.
No, yes.
Oh, well, thank you for the misogyny. Okay,
hold on. I'm just going to stop it right here because we're not going to get off on a wrong foot. Please do not address a grown woman as dear in a condescending tone. Do not do that at my table. You can continue.
By the mainstream media and the corrupt left. I mean, we can't stand for this anymore. That's why President Trump was won. His ability to stand up to the media, call them out of their bias, has resonated with voters. It made him seem like the underdog, even when he was leading.
The question that we have to all ask, when we're confronted with nominations like Robert F. Kennedy, Jr., are these the best individuals available to the incoming Trump administration? Is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., by way of example, the best that America has to offer? Will he and others give us the best opportunity to make a difference in the lives of the American people? Or are there other people who are better qualified to do the jobs that need to be done on behalf of the American people? The American people spoke loudly and clearly in this most recent election. They want us to focus on the issues that matter.
Just take a look at some of Kamala's rallies. Nobody showed up to them. That's why she lost. Because her entire support was just based off the notion that President Trump was just the wrong guy, and that we can't have a racist, can't have a fascist in office. All these are lies. All these are lies made and devised by the Democrats, of course. One of the biggest takeaways from this election, let's not forget, is that Americans are rejecting the far left policies. Everybody should. Anybody with common sense, a right mind, should reject it. These far left policies are just completely out of control. Over the past few years, we've seen the push for extreme ideas like defunding the police, open borders, higher taxes, government control, restriction of First Amendment, the Second Amendment. It's all gone way too extreme now. Most Americans don't want that.